Hello, students of Far East College of Information and Technology. So our subject for today is the 21st century literature of the Philippines and the world. And I'm your teacher, Mrs. Ruby S. Canlas. Okay, so to start our lesson, so first, we need to mapping our literary past and future. Okay, so in mapping our literary past and future, first we need to know what is the word literature, or we need to understand first what is literature from the words 21st century. Okay, so the word literature came from the Latin word litera. Litera means letters. Okay, so any forms of writings, of course, it has letters. So we consider that literature. Just like poetry, poem, or the different books or stories that we read is considered as literature. Okay, so I hope you understand that. Then next, so what is the types of different literature in our present time? Okay, so first is the proverbs. Proverbs in English and in Tagalog is salawikaan. Okay, salawikaan. So, are practical observations and philosophy of everyday life that are written usually in a rhyming scheme. Okay, so let's focus on the everyday life written and in a rhyming scheme. Okay, so what is the best example of proverbs or salawikaan? Kung ano ang puno, siya ang bunga. Tagalog. Okay, so it means just like in our real life or everyday life, no, kung ano ang puno, puno and bunga is the rhyming scheme. Okay, so in our real life, if your father and mother is beautiful or handsome, okay, so of course the bunga or the son and daughter is also beautiful and handsome. Am I right? Okay, so that's example of proverbs or salawikaan. Another example is ang hindi marunong lumingon sa pinanggalingan, hindi makakarating sa paroroonan. So, pinanggalingan and paroroonan are in a rhyming scheme. Diba? If you do not look back to where you from, no, or to the person that will help you before, no, you will not be getting successful. No, kung hindi ka daw marunong tumanaw ng utang na loob sa mga magulang mo or sino man yung tumulong sa iyo, hindi ka daw magiging successful. Okay, that's an example of proverbs or salawikaan. Then next is the riddles or bugtong. So this is not your first time to hear bugtong, right? Alam ko marami kayong alam dyan. Okay, so what is bugtong or riddles? It is similar to proverbs. No, similar to proverbs. The only difference is they demand an answer. Means in every question there will be an answer. So why? Because to test the wits of those who are listening to them. Just like when a teacher asking a question, if you are truly listening, I know you will get the answer. Okay? So first is example is kung kailan mo pinatay saka pa humaba ang buhay. I know you know the answer. So the answer is candle or kandila. Okay, so another example of bugtong is or riddles is isang prinsesa nakaupo sa tasa. So the answer is kasoy. Very good. Ayan. So next is folk song. So folk song, from the word song, of course, are beautiful songs that are informal expressions of our ancestors' experiences in life. So let's focus on the our ancestor expressions, experiences in life. So I will give you an example. So it is a short song. So, don't mind my voice. Okay, sorry for my voice. So, the best example is, ang magtanim ay di biro, maghapong nakayuko, di naman makatayo, di rin makaupo. Right? So, if I'm not mistaken, okay? So, it means, it implies the experiences of our ancestors. How hard being a farmer, no? That you plant under the sun, okay? So, that's the example of folk song. Or another example is harana. Okay, next is tales. Tales are what we call myths and legends. So, are stories or origin for certain places, their names, and their creation. Okay, from the words legends or alamat in Tagalog. Okay, so example of this is uh, the the legends of Mount Arayat, the legends of Maria Makiling. Okay, so certain places, diba? Sabi dun according to the meaning. Okay, so their names of course, for example, we person have different names or unique names. So there have a origin of our names. Di naman yan ipapangalan ni mother or ni father kung wala yung meanings or meaning. Tama? Yes. Okay. So for example, the name John, di ba, has a meaning or have a certain hidden meaning. Why you are naming that kind of name, John, or it is came from the Bible, just like that. Okay, then next is their creation. For example, is the alamat ng pinya. Okay, what is the how pinya is being many eyes, just like that. Okay, so that's what we call the tales, myths, and legends. So the origin of a certain places, names, and their creation. Okay, then next is epic. Okay, epic is not the epic in Mobile Legend rank. Okay, so meron kasing epic rank doon. So it's not that. Okay, so epic, so are long-winded poems about a hero and his adventures and misadventures. Okay, so what is the best example of epics? Epic is Hinilawod and Biag ni Lamang. So Biag ni Lamang is an Ilocano epic story or epic writings. Okay, it came in Ilocano. And when we say epic, so adventures of a hero, no? What is the adventures of a hero, misadventures, or what is the experiences, and then the different adventures that he surpassed. Okay, so that's what we call the epic. Okay, next is the Spanish colonial period. Started in 1565 and end in 1898. So the expeditions to the Philippines were sent by the Spain in the 16th century. In their conquest, the Spanish brought Christianity with them. So their clergy made a great impact on faith, education, and of course, the government. And of course, we Filipino, despite of the changes, still found a way to make Spanish literature their own, as shown through these common kinds. So what are these common kinds that we Filipinos Spanish adapt Spanish literature? Okay, so first is the corrido, what we call the corrido. So when we say corrido, it is a ballad in a traditional Mexican style. So Mexican style, typically having lyrics that narrate a historical event. So let's focus on the lyrics that narrates a historical event. So if you are not mistaken, an example of this is Ibong Adarna. So why Ibong Adarna? Because Ibong Adarna is having a lyrics that narrate an historical event. Okay, so another meaning of corrido is it has written in a octosyllabic verse. When we say octosyllabic verse, it consists of 8 syllables in verse, just like in Ibong Adarna. Okay, so the sagot sa panalangin. So according to the book of Ibong Adarna, Diyos nga'y di natutulog at ang tao'y sinusubok, ang salari sinusunog, ang banal ay kinukubkob. So if you are going to count, it consists of octosyllabic or 8 syllables in every verse. So let's count. So Diyos nga'y di natutulog. So it consists of 8 at ang tao'y sinusubok. So, it's also consists of 8. Ang salari sinusunog. Yan. It consists of 8 also. Ang banal ay kinukupkop. So, okay. So, always remember that corrido is written in octosyllabic verse that has a narrative historical event. Okay. Then next is the awit, from the words awit or songs. So it is about a chivalric poem about a hero, adventure, usually about a saint. It is also usually sung and used in religious processions. Okay, so it is also written, no? Written in the decasyllabic. So in corrido, it is octosyllabic, while in awit is written in the decasyllabic verses. So an example of this is the Florante and Laura. Okay, so while Florante is in the midst of loneliness in the forest, no, they are awit that he sang. Okay, and it consists of the decasyllabic verses. So the deca, it consists of 12 syllables in verses. So example of this, you will find this example in the book of Florante at Laura. Ang tao'y magawi sa ligaya't aliw, mahina ang puso, lubhang maramdamin, inaakala pa lamang ang hilahil, nandarat na'y di matutuhang bathin. Okay, so if we are going to count, it must be consist of the decasyllabic or 12 syllabic in verses. Ang taong magawi sa ligaya't aliw. So it consists of 12 syllabic verses. Okay, so don't forget that. Then next is Passion. Okay, Passion. So we are all known Passion is a narrative poem about the life of Jesus Christ, beginning from his birth and up to his death. So this is what we hear during the Lenten season. Okay, through the churches, especially the Catholic churches, right? Yung pabasa ng Passion. So we hear that from the Catholic churches, the life of Jesus from beginning of his birth and his death. Okay, then next is the Cenaculo. So Cenaculo, it is also celebrate or done during the Lenten season of the Catholic. So it is a dramatization of the Passion of the Christ. It highlights the sufferings and death of the Jesus Christ. So ito yung mga nakikita natin na may dala-dalang krus, tapos naglalakad sa daan every Holy Week, no? So yun yung tinatawag nating Cenaculo. No, dinadramatize nila and highlights the suffering of Jesus Christ. Okay, next is the Moro Moro, or what we call the Commedia de Capa Espada. Okay, so it is a blood and tender melodrama depicting the conflict of a Christian-Muslim. So the term Moro Moro refers to the type of folk drama performed in the villages through the Philippines. So it means they perform this kind of play, no, during the fiestas, okay, or fiesta. So just like the villages in Moro Moro is a little different in terms of treatment. So the treatment of display and the full romance and melodrama, and the high point is always end in the battle between the Christians and Muslim. Okay, so that's what we call the Moro Moro or Commedia de Capa y Espada. Okay, next is what we call the Carrillo. So Carrillo is a play that uses shadow as its main spectacle. So Carrillo before, but nowadays we call it the puppet show. No, before kasi the Carrillo is they create or they play it in a creative way. Just like today, a doll or a paper using your hands, no, to talk the puppet. Okay, so before they draw it in a paper or in a cardboard or wooden board. Then they cut the characters, then paste it to a stick. Then it has a white background or light background with a light, so to create a shadow. So that's what we call the Carrillo. So they play with a shadow. Okay, so next is Tibag. So Tibag is the dramatic reenactment of Saint Helena's how his adventure to search the cross or the Holy Cross of Jesus Christ. So that's what we call the Tibag. Okay, next is the Duplo or Karagatan. So in this type of Spanish literature. So it narrates dramas that are connected to the Catholic mourning rituals. Okay, if it is not a Catholic mourning rituals, it is about a harvest celebrations, no? Many blessings, they celebrate that during the Spanish colonial period. And of course, the Catholic mourning. So what is the tradition of the Filipino during when there's an awake or dead person? So what is their tradition? So it plays or it implies the different tradition of the Filipinos, how they make or how they play, no, during the morning rituals. And this play is more on Catholic believers. Okay, so that's the Tuplo or Kargatan. Then next is the Zarzuela. So we are all know that Zarzuela is probably one of the most famous forms of entertainment back in the Spanish era. And it's also the musical comedy. So it is a combination of melodrama. So melo means singing a song while they dramatize. Okay. And then they deal with the different elements of fashions of human beings. So they dress like a Spanish. Then yung pananamit nila is parang bonggang-bonggang Spanish, no? Then while dancing, while dramatized, no, they also singing. So yun yung pinoportrait nila, no? They portray the Spanish entertainment. Okay, next is, okay, we are going to the Philippine literature during the Spanish occupation. Okay, what are the different literatures from the Spanish occupation? So there are two person that known in this period or in this era. The Ladinos mainly wrote devotional poetry. Okay, first let us identify what is Ladinos. So Ladinos, it is a people that mix mestizo or Spanicized peoples in Latin. So ibig sabihin with mixed person, no, or may lahi silang Spanish or may lahi silang mestizo, no? So who are those two Ladinos that mainly wrote devotional poetry during the Spanish colonial period? So first we have Fernando Bagong Banta and Gaspar Aquino de Belen. So what is the contribution of Fernando Bagong Banta? So the contribution of Fernando Bagong Banta is the Salamat ng Walang Hangga and Dedication. So these two books are designed or containing the Catholic doctrine. Okay? Then while Gaspar Aquino de Belen is known for the contribution of Mahal na Pasyon ni Jesucristong Panginoon natin na tula, so this book of Gaspar Aquino de Belen is the earliest version of Pasyon. Okay? Then next, of course, the Moro Moro or the Comedia de Capa y Espada is the most popular stage play during this period. Okay? Then next is, of course, our one of the heroes is Francisco or Manunulat. Okay, Francisco Balagtas Baltasar, no, tinagurian siyang ama ng balagtasan or the Prince of Tagalog poetry. Okay, so he is best known for his novels Florante and Laura. Then next is Pedro A. Paterno. So who is Pedro A. Paterno? So he is born in February 27, 1858 and died in March 11, 1911. So he is the first poetry collection, The Spanish by Filipino. Okay, what are the contribution of Pedro A. Paterno? The two contribution of Pedro A. Paterno is the novel Ninay and Sampaguitas. So Sampaguitas, we are all know that it is a fragrance of a flower or our national flower or pambansang bulaklak. So this book of Sampaguita is notable for what is symbolized that the Filipino value and literature marked the beginning the national consciousness among the Filipino. And of course, Ninay, just like Sampaguitas, it has a insisted meaning or insisted as nationality, the first Filipino novel ever. Okay, then next is, of course, Dr. Jose Rizal. So, the full name of Dr. Jose Rizal, I hope you will take note of that. Jose Protasio Mercado Rizal Alonso y Realonda. Okay, I will repeat. Jose Protasio Mercado Rizal Alonso y Realonda. So, he was born in July 19, 1861 and died in December 1896, Calamba, Laguna, from Calamba, Laguna. Father is Don Francisco Mercado Rizal and mother is Doña Teodora Alonso y Quintos Realonda. So he is seventh among the children of this of Don Francisco and Doña Teodora. And of course, he is best known for his novels Noli Me Tangere and El Filibusterismo. So, Noli Me Tangere and El Filibusterismo, it is a novels that portray the corruption and abuses of the Spanish or the Spanish officials and the clergy among the Filipino. Okay? Then next is Andres Bonifacio. Of course, he is known as Pag-ibig sa Tinubuang Lupa or the KKK. So, what is the meaning of the KKK? Diba? He is the founder of the Katipunan. So, the meaning of the KKK, if you don't remember, okay, so the meaning of KKK is kataas-taasang, kagalang-galangang katipunan ng mga anak ng bayan. Okay, so next. Okay, next is Leona Florentino. So, a Filipino feminist poet that born in April 19, 1849 to October 4, 1884. So, she is known as the mother of Philippine women's literature. Was a poet in both Ilocano and Spanish. In 20 of her poems were preserved and exhibited in Europe. Oh, imagine that. So, then if you are going to visit Iloilo or in Ilocano, you will find the statue of Leona Florentino in front of his in front of her ancestral house in Iloilo. Okay, so then she is known as the mother of Philippine women's literature, and the poems were included in the Encyclopedia International des Hoyos Res des Femmes in 1889. So that was Leona Florentino. Okay, next is, okay, so we are going to discuss the American occupation that started in 1898 and in 1940. So in this era or period, the US established a civil government in 1901 or 1901. So there will be a pre-public education was introduced, and also English was the medium of communication or instruction in this period. And in 1934, President Roosevelt signed a bill making the Philippines as a Commonwealth. Okay, then May 14, 1935, of course, Manuel L. Quezon was elected as president. Okay, or declared as a president of the Philippines. Okay, what are the literary works that produced during this period or during the American period? First is The Dead Star. So, The Dead Star, released in 1925 by Paz Marquez Benitez. So, this short story is considered as the Filipino modern short story in English during this period. The second literary works produced is A Child of Sorrow by Zoilo M. Galang. So, it is the Filipino novel in English. Then, last is The Native or His Native Soil by Juan C. Laya, that won the first prize in the first Commonwealth Literary in 1940. Okay. Then next is the Japanese occupation. So Japanese occupation in 1941 to 1945. We all know that Japanese occupation is if your grandma or grandpa Diba? Minsan pag nagkukwento sila is mahirap daw yung dinaanan nila during this period. Diba? The Japanese person or military raped the women, no, they brutally killed, diba? So kung naikukwento sa inyo ng mga lolo at lolo nyo. So Japanese occupation. So next is during the Japanese occupation, so December 8, 1941. So this is the date that was the Japanese attacked the Manila. So if I am going to ask you a question, why the Manila is the first place that they attacked during December 8, 1941? So I hope your answer will be because Manila is the capital of the Philippines. So that's the first place that they attacked. Okay, then January 2, 1941. So that was the time that Japanese occupied the entire Manila or the entire capital of the Philippines. Then in October 1943, the Japanese declared the Philippines as independent. So but it's not truly independent. No, we are under the Japanese pa rin. No, then September 20, Jose P. Laurel was elected as president. Okay, so next in October 20, and the biggest naval battle in history ensued. So when we say naval battle, so it is sea battle. Okay, so sea battle between the Filipino and Japanese. So battle that maraming namatay, no? Mga alam naman natin that Japanese they are very equipped in different equipment, especially sa pandigmaang kagamitan, no? Then next is Japanese finally surrendered formally on September 2, 1945. Okay? So medyo matagal din tayong sinakop ng mga Japanese, no, that started in 1941 and last in 1945. Then literary works produced during this period, even though we are under the Japanese period, syempre we Filipino find ways in writing, no, literature find ways in different especially even though if we are in the midst of the battle. Then, the first literary works produced in this period is ang pinakamabuting maikling katang Pilipino in 1943. And of course, there are top 4 stories were awarded in this period. The Lupang Tinubuan by Narciso G. Reyes and Uhaw ng Tigaw na Lupa by Liwayway Arceo. And Nayon at Dagat-Dagatan by Nestor V. Mendoza Gonzalez Madali, Nestor Vicente Madali Gonzalez or NVM Gonzalez, and Suyuan sa Tubigan by Macario Pineda. Okay, so next is post-war and contemporary literature. Okay, post-war and contemporary literature. So this literature includes all the literary works written and published in the Philippines from 1946. Okay, so of course writers wrote fiction that focus on encouraging deeds after the battle, diba? We need to focus on encourage ourselves, no, after we sacrifices and suffering in the lives of the Filipinos during the battles. And it was also common for writers to write about the experiences of the Filipino people under the Spanish, American, Japanese occupation. Yeah? So it is like a reminiscence. They write experience of the Filipino. Okay, next is what are the different subjects and themes that includes in this post-war contemporary period. Okay, first is the religious faith. So the first theme that include in this post-war or after the war, the religious faith, how religious we are, diba? That we surpass during the battle of different country. Then superstitions, fantasy, social problems, poverty. When we say poverty, being poor, no? Then politics, nationalism, and morality. So these are the major themes during this post-war and contemporary period. Okay? Then next, some works written in the post-war and contemporary period are first, the My Day Eve by Nick Joaquin, Waywaya by F. Chanel Jose in 1983, We Filipinos Are Mild Drinkers by Alejandro Roses in 1948, and The Return by Edith L. Chempo, and History and Philippine Culture by Horacio de la Costa in 1965, and Without Seeing the Dawn by Stephen Havellana in 1946. Okay, let's first introduce them one by one, or explain them in one by one. Okay? Okay, first we explain My Day Eve by Nick Joaquin. So this is the first literary works during the post-war and contemporary period. So this work or literary work of Nick Joaquin is about young women who abducted by a young man called Dayaw. So who lives in neighboring community, a long-time enemy of hers. So Dayaw peoples fear revenge from her community, but nothing happened, and she is not accepted by Dayaw's people at all. Okay, so that's the summary of My Day Eve by Nick Joaquin, and of course the Filipino Are Mild Drinkers by Alejandro Roses in 1948. So this story is about American soldier bragging about his ability to drink all kinds of liquor to a Filipino farmer, but in the end he got drunk because of the lambanog. Okay, lambanog that the farmer offered. So we are all know that lambanog, it is hard, diba? It's hard alcohol drink in the Philippines, or in the town of the Philippines. And we are all know that Filipino are only drink for 3 good reasons. First is they drink because when we are up, happy, and we drink for and reasons like celebrations, like that. Okay, then next is The Return by Edith L. Chempo. So this literary works of Edith Chempo is about a human ability and tendency to return to the past, glories and regrets through memory. So the poem is told from the point of view of an old man remembering his earlier life experiencing when he was a young sailor and adventurer. So we are all known that we cannot go back, no, from the time that we are young. So while you have time, no, we need to do good. We need to do good things in this world, no. So because we are temporary in this world, so nothing is permanent. Okay, always remember that, student. Okay, then next is Without Seeing the Dawn by Stephen Havellana, wrote in 1947. So the story tells about a young Filipino farmer, his hardship and poverty before the war, his slow emergence into a bitter, vengeful guerrilla fighter when he finds that his wife has been raped by a Japanese soldier and he's got pregnant. Okay, so from the first page of depressing sense of impending tragedy, no, lost harvest of the farms, children, family, and friends, fate, and their loved ones for each others are gone. The most effective part of these books tells of Japanese conquest and occupation of atrocities, hatred, and bitterness. Okay, so here lies the real tragedy and power of the book, when the tragedy of the Filipinos as a people grips you. So you need to read those literary works during the post-war, so you can adopt new knowledge during our post-colonial period, or post-war period, or the contemporary period. And then uh, our next is I hope you learned something. So in our discussion, then next meeting we will have a recitation. So please be ready. Okay, so see you. Good day and God bless us all.